Hello my friends, if you're new here, my name is Rachel and welcome to the channel, and if you're returning from my first video, hello, welcome back. I just want to say first and foremost, thank you guys so much for the overwhelming amount of support and positivity that I got on my first video. I was not expecting that whatsoever, but every single like and comment and subscribe meant the world to me. Like going through and reading all of your guys' sweet comments, like they just made my day, and everyone was so kind, so I really appreciate every single one of you. Today on this video, we are going to be working on our resident services. If you have not seen the first video in this little Pottsfield series, do go through and watch the entrance build because we are going to be building off of that, where we go over to resident services, and it's quite a doozy. I will admit this is another long video and I do apologize. Feel free to, take some breaks, just play this in the background while you're taking care of some chores or some errands or something. So without further ado, let's go get started. Alright besties, so here we are officially working on the speed build, and as you can see there's so much that I did off camera. I went through and laid all of the pathing down. I figured out everywhere that I wanted the flower beds and trees to go, so I'm just going through and placing everything down. This build took me about 16 hours, I think, altogether, and the pathing alone took roughly 4 hours, which is absolutely crazy for me to say out loud because I definitely placed, I think, well over 1,000 tiles worth of design codes on the ground, which is just way too much. It's so many. It's too many. I don't know why I did that. Don't get me wrong, it looks great, but it took so long, and the pathing will also change as the builds go on and develop in this video. But as you can see here, I'm just going through and filling out these barren spots with some trees and some fences and some different shrubs. I definitely wanted it to still have that very natural feeling, but when you go to actual, city squares and things like that, a lot of the flower beds and things are more, manicured, they're put behind fencing, and I kind of wanted to do something similar. I also really enjoy layering the iron and stone fencing with the spooky fencing. I think that when you kind of box it in like this, it looks like the spooky fencing is actually coming out from some of the wrought iron, I guess spires? I don't know what those are called, but the pointy parts of the iron and stone fencing, when it looks like it's coming out of that spot, which I thought looks really cool, and it also helps keep the sight lines open. But here I am placing a little bit of a statue in this sidewalk spot between this little roundabout. I knew for sure I wanted to include some kind of cool statue right there as a bronze statue that you usually would find in front of a town hall or a city hall or something like that. And the motherly statue is kind of goated. It's really cool in my opinion. I think that it is a very well designed statue in the game. I like the bronze mixed with the stone. I just think that it fits so well for that area. But here I am, having moved on to the back of the resident services building, where you can see I'm just going through and placing some different fencing and different items layered with the trees and the flowers. Once again, I wanted to enclose the trees and the flower beds with fencing, just because I feel like that's a pretty realistic thing that you would find in some municipal areas in an actual town, which is pretty important for me personally. I definitely want to have a separation of municipal areas with more natural areas in Pottsfield. I can't remember if I mentioned this in the first video, but I want to have the island kind of broken up into two different sectors, where the southern part of the island is all municipal, so it's where you'll find the roads and the neighborhoods and things like that. And then I want to do a train track running across the island that separates the municipal area from a foresty area. This is kind of a little bit of an ode to Over the Garden Wall, because if you've ever watched the show, I guess this is kind of going into spoiler territory, but I mean the show is almost 10 years old, which kind of hurts me to say because that show came out back when I was in high school, and yeah, I definitely feel a little old saying that, but yeah. In the show, there is a heavy emphasis on a set of train tracks, and that is all I will say so that I don't spoil too much. So I definitely want to include a train track situation that leads into a heavily forested area of the town. So I'm trying to keep this municipal side of Pottsfield very realistic and definitely very cluttered and lived in. But as you can see here, I have completely talked over building out this little side area where I used the medieval walls to kind of create a faux building facade, and I went through and I layered a phone box with a steel trash can and some decorative bottles. The trash can, I put a sticker on it for bottles only, so maybe it's like a little recycling spot. And then I just included a little table where a villager can sit down and try and figure out, you know, who they're gonna call. Maybe they're peeping out the phone book. But now I'm just working on this little micro pumpkin build over here, which if you haven't noticed, I am absolutely obsessed with doing little pumpkin builds on this island. I think they're so cute. And I decided to try and give it a little bit of a backstory by thinking that maybe there is a pumpkin patch in town that is a bit more of like a commercial pumpkin patch, like the ones that you find near like churches and stuff like that. And they have the means to set up like little micro stands where they can sell pumpkins all over town to make sure that they have like the peak customer like performance or something like that, who knows. But yeah, so now I'm just moving on to these little hedges that are lining resident services. And I just love adding features like this because I feel like it definitely makes the building look like it belongs a bit better. It's definitely really hard to figure out how to integrate buildings in Animal Crossing, especially if those buildings don't match your theme. And thankfully with Autumn, they have resident services like decorated with leaves and like different types of garlands and stuff. So it definitely fits the area, which I love. And now I'm just going through and trying to figure out the spacing on these fences because this area is not symmetrical, which definitely makes things a little bit more difficult.
A nine-tailed fox suddenly appeared. If you believe it.
Okay, so after getting so rudely interrupted by Pudge, that is definitely one thing about working on resident services that makes things so much more difficult because there are villagers walking all over the place, and I have done my best to try and record when resident services isn't as busy, but of course that is nearly impossible because every villager and their grandmother is like, we gotta go to resident services, like that is the place to be. So it definitely makes it a little difficult, and that's another reason. Oh, here comes Pudge with a little bit of a present. I had to go talk to him. He gave me a revolving spice rack. What I was trying to say is that it's important for me to try and decorate resident services as a usable spot for the villagers in my town, since a lot of them do like to hang out here. So including things like seating areas and music boxes, as well as like that statue that Kiki is investigating is something that she can interact with because she has the education hobby, the same way that villagers with the music hobby can interact with different music items to do their own singing and stuff. But anyway, here I am working on this little southern area where I hope to feature a cute little fountain build with some flowers and trees. I'm just going through and replacing the pathing because I wasn't really feeling the stones that I had laid out before. So yeah, I wanted to replace the stones that were down originally with the road pathing just because those stones felt a little bit cluttered and unfinished, and I just really like this road. I felt like it made everything look a bit more cohesive. And now I'm just going through and layering some large young hardwood trees with the fully grown ones just to kind of give some visual interest. But yeah, I just wanted to go through and kind of create a little area where I could highlight the fountain item in game. It's an item that I rarely get to use because I feel like it's just so large and it's honestly sometimes hard to decorate around because of how big it is, but I was determined to make it work and I love how it turned out. If you didn't know, there's actually a little Easter egg in game where the waterworks will kind of like shoot up in the fountain whenever it like the clock chimes on a new hour, which I think is like such a cool little like detail that they added to the game. But yeah, I'm just going through and changing up some of the flowers. I'm also adding the spooky fencing, which I absolutely love the spooky fencing. I used it so much in this speed build just because I feel like it is perfect for a little town area. I feel like it's the perfect height where it doesn't cover anything up and the sight lines are still really nice, but at the same time I love the curves on it. I love the little pumpkin decal just because it's minimal enough to not be in your face that it's a pumpkin, but if you look closely enough you can tell, and I just think it's so pretty, so I definitely wanted to go through and include that. But I'm also now changing up the pathing just a little bit on the interior of this little flower bed, just because I wanted the fountain to look a bit more intentional, and I felt like if I rounded off the corners, it would feel more like it was nestled into that flower bed spot. I actually went and visited Savannah recently. While we were there was like so many public parks in that area, and I tried to take some inspiration from those. The public parks there definitely have a bit more greenery to them, but I love that area. It is so gorgeous. But now you'll see that I'm going through and adding a little seating area with a chessboard on top. I don't know why, but when I was building that area, all I could think about was The Sims, because anytime you go to any public park in The Sims 4, there is like 30 different chessboards. I don't know why that game is so obsessed with chess, but it is. So I was like, all right, I gotta include a chessboard, give my girlies something to do around the island. But I have definitely talked over this super cute newspaper stand that I wanted to include on this corner with some of the recycled paper bundles and things like that. I just think it turned out so cute. And over on this adjacent side, I decided to add like a little area for maybe like a street performer where I have some different items that the villagers can actually use. But I wanted to add the piano because if you've ever seen Over the Garden Wall, the intro to the show is a cute little frog playing a piano. So I wanted to try and include a piano as well as kind of like another ode to Over the Garden Wall. And I also thought it would make sense because sometimes in like larger cities, like especially like New York and like Boston, I feel like you'll see videos on YouTube of people who bring like an entire like baby grand piano out into the middle of like Times Square or something, and they play the piano for everybody and like record it. And so I was like, maybe someone in Pottsfield is an aspiring musician, maybe, or maybe like every Friday night, like someone comes to town and plays music, and who knows, maybe even 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎 is like, you know what, girlies, we're gonna have another little private concert for you guys. But yeah, so I just really thought that it was so cute to add something like that. But yeah, now I'm just going through and trying to make the space look a bit more even. I felt like they were different on either side, like one side was more cluttered than the other, and I wanted to make sure that the tile that is facing the I guess like roadway is the same on both sides. That sounds a little silly, but I liked how they both had like a corner block that was open. But you'll actually see here that I went through and added 𝒷𝓊𝓃 Swing as a song playing out loud. So any villagers who come over here to sing will be singing 𝒷𝓊𝓃 Swing, which I thought was like a cute little like ragtimey type of song to be singing. And now you'll see that I'm over here adding some storefronts next to the newspaper stand. I tried to go out of my comfort zone and build some different little like faux buildings around the area. I thought it would be cool if the newspaper stand had like maybe a little house or a little shop next to it. All I could think of for some reason was that Kix is the one that runs the newspaper stand, so maybe Kix lives in this little tiny house, like maybe it's like a really small like studio 1-bedroom situation, who knows. And I went through and added this antique wardrobe to kind of just give some visual interest and kind of make it look like it is a bit more like sturdy and stable. I just felt like I needed something there to like add to it. If it looks a little weird to you guys, just let me know. I'm still learning how to build these faux buildings, and I don't know, sometimes it works out and then sometimes it doesn't, so you know. But yeah, I decided I wanted to add a tree over here, and it was clipping pretty bad into the stall, so I went through and kind of like scooched everything around a little bit. I added the tree because I felt like it kind of hid the seam between the storefront and the wardrobe a bit better, and it kind of made more sense for this donation box to be put next to the piano as well, so I scooched that over, and I just go through and start making some minor adjustments to the area to make everything look a bit more cohesive and put together. And I think the spot just looks so cute. Like, I just want to come over here, get the daily news, see what's going on around town, maybe chat up with Kix a little bit, see what homeboy's up to. But yeah, so I'm just going through and adding some fencing to further cover up some of the seams. I also wanted to cover up the little peach tree that I'm using to keep this large young hardwood stunted. The full-size hardwood was just way too big for this area, so that's why I decided to go with the smaller version. But over here you can see that I'm adding some Plain Lights party arches behind the little street performer area, which one of my favorite items, yet again. I'm growing a pretty long list of favorite items over here, but I just love the Plain Lights party arch. I feel like it makes that area look a lot more like a little celebratory spot. So yeah, I just added a little sign to the newspaper stand, and now we're going to be moving over to the sides of resident services, where I decided to put 2 garden benches on either side, but I think I do go through and change that in the future. I just definitely wanted to make sure I added a lot of public seating in this area, but now we're going to be heading down to this lower half of the build, where I'm going to be using adding some hedges to kind of frame out this area. And I do apologize for my house being in frame. It is on the beach and it will be on the beach for a while, but I do have a reason behind it. Let's just say your girl went through it. So while I'm going through and placing down some of these Turkey Day stands with hyacinth lamps as well as some other items, I will explain why my house cannot move off of the beach. So right when I started recording this speed build, one of my villagers asked to move out, and it was a villager that I've been trying to get rid of. I had Renee as one of my starting sisterly villagers, and she finally asked me to leave the island, and I was so happy that she asked to leave. But the only issue was when her house plot was vacated was when I started doing this speed build and realized that if I time traveled a day forward to move my house, I would have lost her spot to somebody. So I spent so much time and like 250 Nook Miles tickets looking for my last 3 dreamies, and I could not find a single one. Like, I was so frustrated. I just wanted to move my house out of the way and I couldn't, and I was so mad. So instead I settled on a villager that, like, I think she's cute. I don't think a lot of people like her very much, but I think that she's cute and she could fit the island vibe. I would just have to go through and kind of like figure out who I would keep and who I would get rid of. Now, last video I asked you guys if I should keep Nan or if I should keep Kiki, and a lot of you guys said I should keep Kiki because she fits the island vibe a lot better than Nan does, and I totally agree. I can definitely use Nan on a different island in the future, so I will probably have Nan move out at some point. So that's like one less villager I have to worry about, like, you know, keeping or getting rid of. But yeah, if I have this villager that moved in, I will have to figure something out. And the villager that moved in was Mayel, or I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think it's Mayel. She's really cute. I like the duck villagers. I think they're adorable. I love her little like French bob. Like, she's giving very much Paris. Like, I love it. And I do think that she fits on the island. I feel like she kind of like combines the coloring that you can find on Pudge as well as Bunny. So I like her a lot, and I think that she might stay. I just have to like rearrange the villager lineup a little bit. Yeah, I finally did get her and I moved my house eventually, but back to the actual speed build going on, you can see that I have completely talked over this super cute little apple cider area that I built, which I am so proud of. So I want my villager, like my island rep's house, to be an apple cider farm with like a little apple cider like brewing house and things like that. Like, I want my house to be built out as like a little like brewing area slash like bakery where you can buy like apple goods. So I was thinking like maybe my villager branched out a little bit, got kind of like a little food truck situation, and set up shop in town square where she is selling some apple cider and some apple goods from the local cider farm. I just thought that was like so cute and such a good use of this little area. Originally I was going to do like a little like coffee truck, but I think that this one is definitely a vibe, but I still probably will add a coffee truck somewhere because I love coffee. I am a coffee girly, and I start every morning off with a Vietnamese iced coffee that I make at home. And if I do go out and get coffee from like a local coffee shop, I usually will get a quad shot latte, but I'll get it iced because I live in a very warm place. And the coffee shop that I go to has pumpkin spice year round, which is like, you love to see it. So I will always get a pumpkin spice latte, even if it is July. I always get one because I just think that they're so good. Like, cinnamon and espresso go together so well. And I actually worked as a barista for a while. I do have some barista experience, and I love making latte art. It is like so fun. But anyway, I'm just going through now and adding some design codes as well as some wheat fields and some different items. I wanted to kind of include like a little picnic area for villagers to hang out in, which I thought was really cute. But now I'm going through, and you can see Teddy's like lurking around in the background while I'm putting this fencing down. Teddy was hanging out quite a bit in this area, which I actually think is super cute. So I have like a little inside joke with some of my followers over on Instagram that Teddy is the official mascot of Pottsfield. You have heard it here first, folks. If I was not the island rep, Teddy 1000% would be. Like, he is constantly patrolling, keeping everybody safe. I just think that it's so funny seeing him walk around, especially in this little like woodland area. I feel like he belongs so well. But yeah, now we're going through and doing some of the water terraforming. You saw that I added a lot of wheat fields and stuff. I did that because I feel like it adds a lot to the area. I looked up some different reference pictures on Google for like riversides and things like that, and I found a lot of them had like really tall like riverside grasses and things like that, and I just think it adds so much to this area. Like honestly, it kind of reminds me of like a painting or something, like some fall time landscape painting. I love it. I think it's so pretty. And now I'm just going through and adding some flowers. I also wanted to add a design code on the ground where I could put a decoy duck on top of, which I love the decoy ducks. They're so cute. I actually kind of had ducks a little bit growing up. Not necessarily, it's more so like my parents had a swimming pool, and every September these two ducks would land in the pool, and you could tell that they were different ducks. Like one was a boy and one was a girl. So we named them Henry and Elizabeth, and they would always visit us every single year, and they would hang out in the pool. But I later learned that it is not safe to let ducks swim around in your pool. So please, if you ever find ducks in your swimming pool, do not let them hang out. Get them out of there because they have a lot of bacteria that you do not want ending up in your pool. So no ducks allowed, sadly, but they were really cute. But as I've talked over this whole area, we are now moving on to the top part of resident services to continue on with the build. Alright, so I did do a decent amount of building off screen actually. I brought the river all the way up here from where we were building down below. I also included some trees and shrubs and flowers and fencing off screen just because it's a lot of the same stuff over and over again. I included these garden benches next to each other instead of on either side. You can see pom-pom sitting on one, as well as including an area along the cliffside for an incline to go in a future build. And heading down here, not much has really changed in this area except I moved my house. My house is officially moved, and I just added some scattered papers and made sure that there was room to walk through, like walk past the truck area. Also, the little side forest didn't change too much. But heading on up, I just wanted to do some stuff off screen to kind of cut back on the fluff and filler of the video. You can see we have a little Mael here fishing in the river, and the river is coming all the way up. I added another little like garden area off to the side. We have some cute little like islands in the middle of the river. You can see Kiki over there reading with her little glasses on. So cute. But yeah, that's kind of all I did off screen for this area. We're going to go ahead and start by adding a bridge to this spot. Originally I had added the flat wooden bridge, but it didn't look quite as good as I thought it would have. So instead I am changing it out for the Zen bridge. I do wish that Nintendo would have given us the chance to actually customize our bridges and inclines. I feel like they missed out on a really great opportunity there because the Zen bridge is super cute, but I end up putting a pergola in front of it later, which I can't wait for you guys to see because it looks so good. But I chose the pergola in the black option, and I just don't think that it matches with the wood that well. It's too pretty not to keep in though, so I do end up keeping it. I just wish that I could have made the Zen bridge black, or I really liked the iron bridge because I feel like the iron bridge looks like something that would actually be found in a city, but it's blue, so I can't really use it anywhere. But anyway, I'm going through now and fixing up the pathing, as well as adding some iron and stone fencing to kind of cap off this little side area. And then we are going to head over to the side where I'm grabbing my hedges, and I'm just going to line this entire cliffside with hedges, just for now at least. I do go through and change this later because I had no idea what I wanted to do with this side bit. I do know that I want this cliff area to lead into a shopping district that has Nook's Cranny, Able Sisters, and maybe like a little flea market or a farmer's market of some kind. So we will get to that in a future video at some point. I don't know if that's going to be my next one or not. I haven't entirely decided, but we're going off to this little side over here and kind of doing the same thing, including some hedges. I'm leaving some space for some street lamps, and we're just lining the entire thing in hedges. I have definitely used a lot of fencing on this island, and none of this would be possible without using treasure islands, I gotta be honest. I did go on quite a few trips throughout this video, which is probably another reason why it took me so long to record it, because I was spending so much time waiting in queues and things just to be able to get into some treasure islands. I went through like so many hedges and iron and stone fencings and things. But I'm just going through and interspersing with some spooky fencing, and I did this because I actually do this in The Sims when I do Sims 4 builds. I will go through and kind of like cap off the fencing and include bushes to make it look like maybe there's like an overgrown hedge that's growing like over the actual fencing, which I think looks really cool. And so I decided I would try and like do something similar in Animal Crossing, and I think that it works fairly well. It's kind of hard to decorate edges, especially like along riversides, I feel like, with fencing, just because there's like a little bit of a gap and items sit really weird next to fencing sometimes, so that definitely makes it a little difficult. But now we are heading up top where I am going to start putting down some little items. I decided to include a bike off to the edge, which I thought was super cute. And then I was really torn on how I wanted to decorate this little like top area up here. So we do kind of go through a couple different options up here. I was thinking like the Turkey Day stand would work, but I don't know, just something about it was not sitting right with me. I definitely like the Turkey Day stand. Like I said, it's one of my favorite items. And I do like this little combination with the hyacinth lamps, but I just feel like it didn't really make much sense having like street lamps and the Turkey Day stand. And then I play around over here with a little street organ and some pumpkin stuff going on, but this also doesn't end up staying. I was just kind of like brainstorming with stuff, and as you saw, I plopped down my wooden storage shed to get out some items. I'm placing down my street lamps, and here's where I decide that this is not it. It's not working, so we are going to go through and fix it, as well as this area. Kind of just deciding like, all right, we need to start again from square one. I really like this bistro table. I tried using it where the apple cider like truck build went, and it just didn't really work, so instead I decided to add it up here, and I think that it is so cute. The dimensions on this item are a little bit weird, so it's kind of hard to place items around it, but I just like how natural the actual decorations on top of the bistro table look, so I definitely wanted to find some spot to put it, and I customized it to have this really cute checkered, like, I guess umbrella on top that does match the one that I have on the newspaper stand, but I just felt like it went with the Turkey Day chairs so well, so I had to combine the two of them, and I'm definitely glad that I did. This area definitely did give me a lot of struggle, and I will once again end up changing it in a little bit, but we are kind of going through and playing around with this area down here. I had the idea to add a little faux building just to kind of keep it from looking too, you know, one dimension and things like that, but I don't know, like I love the storefront, don't get me wrong, it's one of the best items in the game, especially for making faux buildings, but you know, kind of having it on its side just didn't really work for that area. So instead I pulled it out and kind of played around a little bit. I was struggling to figure out how I wanted to have this area work. I do like the storefront, how it has like a little porch, but I don't like the hay bale that's on it. I feel like that only works for like a certain build, so I kept trying to cover it with hedges, and then I brought the cliff out to try to make like a little roof situation for it, but honestly, the whole roofing thing on these fake buildings is so hard. I am struggling so bad with like trying to figure out how to get like items that have the right dimension. I know a lot of times people will combine simple panels with the bunk bed items. I currently don't have any bunk beds in my storage, so maybe this area will change in the future. I haven't fully decided, but this is the layout that I ended up going with, trying to make it look like a little two-tiered building where maybe there's like a second balcony area. And I just used the wooden bookcase to try and like cap off the cliff edge because I didn't want you to be able to see the edge or anything like that. And I thought at first that I wanted to go through and put some pumpkins down just like everywhere else, but that ends up changing, as well as the like bottom tier of the build. I messed around with this area quite a bit, and like I do really like the end result that I, you know, end up with and things like that. But at the same time, if you guys have any tips or tricks, please do let me know. Alright, so this is how this build actually ended up turning out. I did some stuff off screen and did some recoloring, as well as getting rid of that bottom storefront and replacing it with a curtain and a stall. The reason I did that is because I wanted this to be like a little farmer's market area, and I included the curtain because I thought, you know, maybe that's like the entrance to the shop or something like that. And I don't know, I thought it was really cute. I kind of want the shopping district to flow down into resident services a little bit, and I thought that this was a good way to do that. So I just included some different fresh produce items like the shopping bag, a little analog scale so that your groceries can be weighed out, as well as like some fertilizer bags and some fresh fruits and veggies, which Bunny was obsessed with. She kept going over and like sniffing the fruit, which I thought was really cute. But now we're just moving over to this little side area where I added a medieval wall, I think in the first video, but I'm just going through and trying to integrate it into the area a bit better. I was really torn on what to do with this corner over here. I tried to do some medieval walls, but it definitely took up a lot of sight lines, which is really difficult when you're using these items. I was definitely struggling because I didn't want too much to be covered up, so who knows what we'll end up doing there. I think I leave it empty for right now. But now we are just moving back over to this side where I wanted to add a little tiny library. But now we're going over here and adding some more pumpkin items to fill out this little pumpkin edge. I have that cute little poster code yet again, just because, you know, local pumpkin patch is advertising their pumpkins. But now we're heading up top here where I was trying out some different layouts with items that I could put against the river's edge, and at first I tried the safety railing alongside the plant partition, and I decided the plant partition was definitely the way to go. So I just go through and place those down, and I go through and add the pergola now, which I think is so pretty. I chose this color swatch because the flowers on it are orange, and I do like the black color of the wood, but once again, now you can see what I mean on terms of like it doesn't really match with the Zen bridge as well as I would like it to, but I think it matches well enough and it feels very like autumnal with the orange flowers. I just don't think that really any of the other color swatches would have gone in that area. And now I'm just going through and adding clutter. I wanted to add some newspapers, like maybe someone bought some newspapers from Kick's newspaper stand. I also added some bottles just because, you know, sometimes people just leave stuff behind, who knows. Maybe someone went down to the apple cider area and got some apple cider and drank it by the riverside and didn't clean up after themselves. But now I'm just going over here and messing with this area yet again. I really wanted to use that sturdy paper bag because this is supposed to be right up against a shopping district, so I wanted it to look like maybe some villagers had been shopping in their spare time. But once again, the sizing of these items just makes everything so awkward. So I included a Turkey Day stand against the riverside and decided to bring up the paper bag and fill everything out again with some hedges just to, you know, make the areas feel more put together. And next up we are coming off to this little side area where I decided I wanted to put another little food cart. I'm using the fortune cookie cart, and even though this is not supposed to be a fortune cookie stand, I do think that this cart is super cute. I wish that it didn't have the little fortune cookie decal on the side just because, you know, we're not selling fortune cookies here, sadly. But yeah, I do go through and kind of mess around with this layout a little bit. I decided that I wanted it to be like a little, I don't want to say like scone cart because I don't think, or scone, I don't really know how to pronounce it. I feel like it changes depending on who you ask. But yeah, I just wanted it to be like a little food cart where maybe you could get some cute little pumpkin-y desserts or something like that, some street food. But I'm just going through and messing with the items once again, trying to get everything situated properly. And this is actually the last area that we work on for this speed build. I do a lot of stuff off camera, like I work on some sides of the river as well as the pathing where I go through and I add the different like leaf piles as well as like the leaf codes and things like that, which you'll see in the beauty shots because it's just a lot of picking up items and putting down pathing. But without further ado, let's go see the beauty shots. Alrighty, my friends, that is everything for our resident services speed build, and I could not be happier. I think it looks so good. But do leave your thoughts and suggestions down below, especially for things like faux buildings. I'm still struggling a little bit with learning how to create those. But yeah, if you guys would like to see more content on a daily basis, I do post daily over on Instagram at 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎 as well. You can get some sneak peeks as well as just some more daily interactions. And I just want to say thank you again for just the sheer amount of love and support that you guys have already shown me. Do please leave a like and a comment on this video, and if you would like to see more Animal Crossing content in the future, do subscribe, and I can't wait to see you guys again next week.